Her name was Officer Elena Morales, 32 years old, 5 years into the force, and known at the precinct as dependable, brave, and composed. What no one knew was that this Christmas marked 1 year since her mother's death, 6 months since her engagement fell apart, and 3 weeks since she'd been reassigned to night patrol after reporting a superior for misconduct. She told herself the reassignment was temporary, that integrity mattered more than comfort, but as she sat there in the freezing dark, the weight of it all pressed down on her chest until breathing felt like work. Her GPS had glitched during a snowstorm response call, her car slid into a deep curbside snowbank, and the tow trucks were overwhelmed. Dispatch had promised help hours ago. Hours passed. Then the radio cut out completely. The street she was stranded on was lined with modest houses, most dark, some glowing faintly with Christmas lights that felt almost cruel in their warmth. Families were inside laughing, eating, unwrapping gifts, while she sat in silence, staring at the steering wheel like it might judge her. She had chosen this job to protect people, but right now she felt forgotten by the very city she served. She tried to keep warm, wrapping her arms around herself, thinking of her mother's laugh, of the empty apartment she would return to after shift, of the fact that she hadn't even put up a tree this year. Across the street, behind a frost-covered window, a single father named Daniel Harper noticed the patrol car long before Elena realized she was being watched. Daniel was 39, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes softened by years of responsibility. His life had been split into before and after the night his wife died during childbirth, leaving him with a newborn son and a grief that never fully loosened its grip. Christmas had become a complicated day since then, bittersweet, heavy, but still sacred because of his son, Noah, who was now 7 years old and believed with his whole heart that Christmas miracles were real. Daniel had finished washing the dinner dishes when Noah pointed excitedly at the window, mentioning the police car that hadn't moved in a long time. At first Daniel assumed the officer was parked for patrol, but as minutes stretched into an hour, something didn't sit right. He saw the engine was off. He noticed the stillness. He felt a familiar pull in his chest, the one that always told him someone needed help. He put on his coat, told Noah to stay inside, and stepped out into the snow, the cold biting his face as if testing his resolve. Elena didn't notice Daniel approaching until there was a soft knock on her window. Her hand instinctively went to her belt, her body tensing, but when she looked up, she saw a man standing there with his hands visible, eyes kind, posture careful. He didn't look threatening. He looked concerned. Embarrassment rushed through her, sharp and unexpected. She rolled down the window just enough to hear him over the wind. He gestured gently toward the house behind him, then toward her car, offering help without pressure. She hesitated, pride warring with exhaustion, but the cold decided for her. She nodded. Daniel guided her across the street, his boots crunching through snow, his porch light casting a warm glow that felt unreal after hours in darkness. Inside, the house smelled like cinnamon and pine. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated unevenly with handmade ornaments. Noah peeked from behind the couch, eyes wide with curiosity and awe at the sight of a real police officer in his living room. Elena felt something crack open in her chest, something tender and fragile. Daniel gave her a mug of hot tea, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, and insisted she sit by the heater. He didn't ask questions right away. He didn't pry. He just let her thaw. In that quiet, surrounded by the hum of warmth and the soft blinking of Christmas lights, Elena felt the tension drain from her body in a way she hadn't realized was possible. She realized how long it had been since someone had simply taken care of her without expecting anything in return. As time passed, she explained her situation, briefly, carefully, about the stuck car, the dead radio, the failed GPS. Daniel listened, nodding, already mentally planning. He called a friend who owned a plow, someone he trusted, someone who would answer on Christmas Eve. Then he turned back to Elena and told her she was safe here as long as she needed to be. No rush, no pressure, just shelter. Noah, emboldened by his father's calm, came closer and began showing Elena his favorite ornament, then his drawing of Santa, then his toy police car. Elena smiled genuinely for the first time that night. She felt seen, not as an officer, but as a person. The loneliness she'd been carrying loosened its hold, replaced by something warmer, something dangerously close to hope. While they waited, Daniel shared pieces of his life too, not in words heavy with pity, but in simple truths. A wife gone too soon. A son who made every hard day worth surviving. A belief that helping people wasn't about heroics, but about noticing when someone was stranded and choosing to step outside. Elena felt a deep respect settle in her chest, mixed with a quiet ache. She thought of how many nights she'd driven past houses like this, never knowing the stories inside. The plow arrived near midnight, its lights cutting through the snowfall like a promise. Daniel bundled up again, went out with the driver, and within minutes Elena's patrol car was freed from the snowbank. The engine roared back to life, steady and reliable. Relief washed over her, followed quickly by something heavier. She didn't want to leave. The realization surprised her. Standing on the porch, snow still falling, Daniel handed her a small paper bag. Inside was a sandwich, an apple, and a handwritten note from Noah, decorated with crooked stars, thanking her for being a police hero and wishing her a Merry Christmas. Elena's throat tightened so suddenly she had to look away. No award, no commendation, no successful arrest had ever made her feel the way that simple note did. She returned to her car, heart full and heavy all at once. As she drove away, she glanced in the mirror and saw Daniel and Noah standing together, framed by warm light, waving until she disappeared down the street. The city felt different now. Softer, kinder, like it was still capable of surprising her. The rest of her shift passed quietly, but Elena wasn't the same officer she'd been earlier that night. She responded to calls with renewed patience, with a gentleness she hadn't realized she'd lost. When her shift ended at dawn, she didn't go straight home. She stopped by the precinct, wrote a formal commendation request for Daniel Harper, detailing his kindness and assistance. She knew paperwork wouldn't capture what he'd really given her, but it was a start. In the weeks that followed, life moved forward, but something had shifted. Elena found herself driving down that street again, this time by choice. She dropped off a thank you card, then another visit with small gifts for Noah. Eventually, conversations grew longer. Coffee replaced tea. Laughter began to fill spaces that had once been hollow. For Daniel, the memory of that Christmas Eve became something sacred. It reminded him that his instinct to help still mattered, that even in his quiet life, he could change someone's world simply by opening a door. For Noah, it became the night his belief in Christmas miracles was confirmed beyond doubt. And for Elena, it marked the moment she stopped seeing herself as alone against the world. She learned that even the strongest people need rescue sometimes, and that accepting kindness doesn't make you weak, it makes you human.